All right, guys, big fights just happened on my birthday weekend, and I think as a little bit of a late birthday present, this person has jumped on the program to react to the craziness that just went down in California, UFC 311, the one and only good friend of the program, Laura Sanko. Thank you so much for joining me.
Dennis, happy birthday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for saying it, because I'm going to be honest with you. I was not aware, but now that I'm aware, I'm very excited for it. Happy birthday to you. And what a great night of fights you had.
Listen, I'm 60, but I've taken a lot of steroids, and this is a lot of Botox, even though all the lines, I've got
You do?
I got tape back here, so it's all happening. So as your senior, it's great to have a young kid like you join me on the program.
I have a feeling I'm older than you.
Okay, so let's talk about this, for example. A man who defied age and gravity and all other forms of physics is the undisputed champ, Merab, who was able to basically throw out another billion takedowns, beat GSP's record, and beat Umar Nurmagomedov in a crazy performance. I want to kick it off by talking about this. What's your reaction and what's your feeling after seeing this performance from the champ? It's unbelievable.
Not to take too much credit, but this is what I expected from the fight when I first heard about the matchup. But then I completely talked myself out of it after doing, further research on Umar and really kind of, I don't want to say buying into the hype, because it's not hype. He is an incredibly talented fighter, but it really comes down to, at what point does a superior skill set supersede just an ungodly outlier level of pressure and gas? Because the beginning of the fight, I think, is what people envision being able to take place throughout the entirety of the fight. And to watch the tides shift, the momentum shift, every single minute that ticked by in this fight, I don't know who will be able to get past that, especially now knowing that he was nowhere near 100%. I mean, I don't know how much how much you saw in his post-fight interviews, how much he revealed to other media sources. But when I asked Merab about his health, he didn't go into a lot of detail, but he was definitely on antibiotics. I saw his shin close up. It was healed. It was closed, but it was clearly.
So he had like a staph infection in his shin, or what was it? Because it was hard. Yes. He got into it in the post. He's one of the best champions, best fighters, one of the worst post-fight interviews in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
He started talking about random stuff with Joe Rogan and Dana White. He said something about a cut, or was that on his shin?
It was on his shin. It was on his shin. It looks like he got a cut, I'm assuming in sparring or grappling or whatever. And it clearly got infected, like very infected. And it was about the size of bigger than a well, we have different money. It was big.
Okay. Our money is different, yes.
Yeah.
Continue.
I was going to say $50, but
different. So he showed you this. Wow.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. What I don't understand about Merab is I was trying to sort of quantify what makes him so successful, because when he was moving up against Umar with his pressure, technically, the way he throws his shots, maybe not the most technical guy in the world. The way that he moves, maybe not the most technical guy in the world. Obviously, his wrestling is really, really good. But there's some kind of X factor when he gets in front of fighters that I can't really quantify. I mean, it is cardio. It is fitness. But it's something else. Like, it's almost like he's just, I don't think we've seen this level of forward pressure before. Have we? I mean, there's Sean Strickland. No. There's, there's other fighters, but this is just ridiculous. Like, he saw Umar at one point being a bit like, what the hell is this, right? Yeah. Like, he shocked himself, I think.
It's a very different style of pressure. I think at its core, the type of pressure that Sean Strickland brings does result in a lot of the same, I don't want to say panic, but it's just difficult to breathe. In the striking, if you're facing Sean, a lot of people need a moment to reset and recalibrate their combination and then go again. And Sean just doesn't allow that. It's different with Merab, though. And I really think it comes down to, if you talk to a lot of fighters, their biggest fear is never physical pain. It's not, getting caught in some horrible submission, the fear is that you will get tired. And every fighter will admit that when you reach that point where your body starts betraying your decision making, it is the most horrendous feeling in a fight. And I think it's the only time that fighters really start to feel fear. Not fear of pain, but fear of like, I can't make myself do the things I know that I should be doing right now. And I think that you go into a fight with Merab knowing that that is a real possibility.
I got a photo of Umar's hand. He broke it in the first round. He put on a great fight. Like, I think the thing about this fight is it was a classic title fight. Like, it was something that we've missed for a while. I know there's been some great ones with Islam and Dustin, but this was really delivering. Well, how did you rate Umar? Because obviously he came out there and he had some success against potentially one of the greatest champs in that division of all time. But ultimately, like you mentioned, the broken hand, but also that look in his eyes going into the fifth round, like he was exhausted. He was absolutely dead in the face. It looked like he could barely get off that stool at one point towards the end.
That's a little bit of youth. And I think it's a little bit the tale of two paths to that moment, right? Merab went through the gauntlet to get to the championship moment, and it showed itself in the way that he fought Sean O'Malley. And I think for Umar, I mean, listen, his talent level, his ceiling is undeniable. I think what we saw tonight was just a little bit of, him being the hammer for the vast majority of his career, and maybe not having a ton of time in the octagon where he's felt really uncomfortable. I'm sure he's been uncomfortable in the gym. That's a gym that will, that they test him, that they push him, and that they put him in bad spots. It's not a lack of training for that, but that's a thing that can't be replicated outside of a real fight situation. And, in the biggest moment, and I all week I kept thinking about the amount of pressure that Umar in particular was under this week to deliver on the promise of this big night for the family, for the bloodline, so to speak.
Yeah, it's interesting because, Khabib, the guys on his team, Islam, they fight injured all the time. I know Umar had that arm injury. It's almost like the pressures of just fighting no matter what, the pressures of performing with no excuses. It's something that would be so difficult. And it does feel like potentially maybe a better lead up for Umar could have potentially helped him. But I guess what do we do next with Merab, right? What do you think? I mean, we've got, Sean O'Malley. He's coming back. He's obviously coming off that loss. He didn't really look himself, but no one does against Merab. And then you got some other potential contenders, your Piotr Jans and other guys in the division looking to get in there. If it was up to you, who would you like to see Merab fight next? Or do you do a rematch with Umar? Because everyone is talking about how great that fight was. I saw John Anik talking about how he'd love to see a second one. What do you think?
We were discussing this backstage, and I don't know that there's a clear-cut answer. You've got rematches all three directions. The three names that we just threw out there. I think the most likely that the UFC will be attracted to will be Sean O'Malley, because he's still such a draw. And while the fight wasn't ultra competitive, you do have the storyline of Sean's hip going into that fight. How limited was he or wasn't he? But I definitely think that Umar and Merab will meet again. So whether that's the next defense that we see Merab make, or it's after Sean, I definitely think that Umar will be right back in this position. I mean, again, unbelievably talented. And I think he's the type of fighter that will really benefit and really learn from a loss like this. And I think that we'll probably see him never take a loss like this again, unless I don't know, maybe if he were to fight Merab again, but I think it would look different.
Yeah, sometimes a loss is good when you're he's not early in his career. He's young though, but he's not early in his career. But sometimes you learn a lot from a loss.
Especially if you're undefeated.
Especially when you're undefeated, and especially when you're kind of being the focus because your legacy has your family has such a legacy. Sean O'Malley coming off no social media, the surgery, and apparently he's not having sex until he wins his next fight. How much of a chance do you give him against this crazy takedown machine in Merab? I mean, he wasn't even 100% tonight, and he put that performance on against Umar. Do you give Sean O'Malley much of a chance in the second rematch? In this rematch, I mean, he really didn't look himself in that first fight. But again, that's because Merab's pressure is crazy.
I would still favor Merab in the matchup, but do I think it could look different? I definitely do. I think that, it was clear that Sean's kicking game was not, what we're accustomed to seeing. And a lot of the conventional wisdom is that, your kicking game is oftentimes directly related to your sprawling game. Like the faster your hip flexors work, the better you are at sprawling out. And if he did have a really messed up, it was the labrum in the hip, right? I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, but I think it was the labrum. I think so. Yeah.
I mean, my understanding is that that's a relatively significant issue. It sounds significant. So yeah, I think the story that we would like to build is that could look different, but I don't know. When you watch Merab fight, could it? That's a tough.
The interesting thing is, look, Merab does get himself into punches as he moves forward. He does get hit. So you'd think that maybe if someone could land a perfect shot, it could be O'Malley. And you're right, he did have a labrum tear, but I don't know. He looks undeniable. I think he was like chewing gum as well throughout the fight. Was he chewing gum? What was he doing?
I don't have an answer for that. I wish I had an answer for that, but I said the exact same thing early in the fight. And he was making that motion with his mouth, which I've only ever seen people do when they break their jaw. He clearly didn't do that because I interviewed him afterwards and he was fine. But yeah, it was like some crazy intensity tick that he developed all of a sudden. I noticed it too.
Did he not have gum in his mouth? Is he just chewing on nothing?
I think he was just like chewing.
I need to know this. This isn't just since Mike Tyson. This has to be the weirdest chewing fight thing I've seen. Benson Henderson had a toothpick in his mouth. Does Merab sneaky gum into the octagon? Who knows? I'm actually surprised Tim Welch and Sean O'Malley weren't trying to yell things at him throughout the fight as well. Try to make themselves a part of the fight. But there you go. I saw Tim Welch put out a really complimentary tweet to Merab, so they're taking him seriously too. Let's talk about Islam Makhachev. What about this guy?
I mean,
Armin pulls out with an injury. This guy's just like, I'll fight Moicano. I don't care who it is. Moicano, a tough veteran who put on a crazy performance against BSD with like that crazy collarbone injury. Mm-hmm. How impressed are you with Islam Makhachev at this point, and especially what we saw from him with that impressive, quick victory over a tough veteran in Moicano?
I mean, he did what he needed to do, but I think that he will not get enough credit for how big of a deal that is, if that makes sense. The story over the last couple of days has been, man, what a hero Renato Moicano is. And absolutely that should be a storyline. But the person with anything to lose was, of course, Islam Makhachev. That's, to me, a way bigger deal than Renato Moicano taking on the opportunity of a lifetime that, just sort of falls in his lap. Not that he wasn't deserving, but it certainly wasn't what he signed up for. For Islam to take on that challenge and to go out there and do what he does. And I asked him about the dart stroke. And it's the first time I've ever gotten him to kind of like chuckle and smile in an interview. And he was just like, listen, if I get that dart stroke, he's like 99 times out of 100, it's over. He's like, you saw in the Dustin fight, my team's already celebrating as soon as I get to that position. So, I mean, the guy's incredible. It's no longer just the devastating wrestling. It's his finishing ability, right? Mm. He's really becoming a devastating finisher.
Number one pound for pound for you?
Oh, it feels.
Give it to me, Laura. Come on. Come on.
No, it's so sacrilegious of me to not say yes. But I'm sorry. John Jones. John Jones is active. John Jones just beat the greatest heavyweight of all time, and he's active. The whole reason
is he active? Is he active? Is John Jones active?
He just fought.
He did. Stipe,
Okay.
It's tonight, like airing reruns of The Nanny in 2025. As much as I love Stipe, it's not the hit show on TV anymore. Things have changed.
Tonight, it's Islam Makhachev. tonight.
Yes.
It is. It is. You're right.
People going crazy in the comments.
You're right. I always get criticized for not giving him his flowers. So there you go. Take your flowers. It's not that I've ever not been giving it. For some reason, I feel like I get that a lot on my YouTube feedback. I have been and am a massive Islam Makhachev fan. And how could you not be? The guy's incredible.
All right, guys, it's time for a new year and a new you. Thanks to our friends at Manscaped. Have you sorted with all the best products to get you looking good downstairs and all over your body in 2025? Performance Package 5.0 Ultra by Manscaped is your secret weapon for stepping into 2025 sharp, clean, and confident. Don't be the guy that rolls into January looking like you just emerged from hibernation. Let the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, the Weed Whacker 2.0 handle your overgrowth so you can focus on leveling up. Start 2025 with precision, because the only thing that should be growing this year is your success and not your scruff. Join the 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped. Use the code word submission now. Keep this show going. Get 20% off and free shipping today. Performance Package 5.0 Ultra is the all-in-one grooming kit. Of course, I mentioned it before, but I'll say it again. Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is the best tool you could have. It also comes with the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer. Full aftercare, which helps you treat yourself right with the crop soother and the crop preserver. Keeps you fresh and comfortable and confident so you're always ready to move forward. And you get some free gift. Kick off the year with a bonus that elevates your routine. The Boxers 2.0, which I love to wear. They're one of the most comfortable boxers you can wear. And the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag, which I take with me everywhere I go. Manscaped has a 30-day money-back guarantee as well, so you can try it risk-free right now. Use the code word submission. Go right now, 20% off and free shipping. And I just want to talk to you guys about SAILY as well. SAILY is an unbelievable app that's going to change the game forever when it comes to travel, and you want to be covered with your phone. Forget lining up at airports and having to get a new SIM, taking your SIM out, keeping it in a little baggie, making sure you don't lose it. Forget all of that. SAILY has you sorted. All you got to do is download the app, choose the amount that you want to spend, what country you want to go to, and boom, like that, you are sorted. I just went to New Zealand. I was absolutely covered. I didn't want to spend the $10 or $20 or $30 a day that I was going to have to spend because of my provider. I put in an amount. It had me covered the entire time, and I even still have data left over because it was so smooth and easy. One of the things I love about SAILY as well that you may not realize is it actually comes with an ad blocker. So if you are watching videos or doing stuff on the internet, why waste your data on ads? The ad blocker has you sorted, and it comes with web protection as well. You know, malware on your device is the last thing you need on your travels, and SAILY gets you sorted and protected too. So why not jump on right now, use the code word submission, get 15% off. All you gotta do is download the app, choose your destination, where you wanna go, the amount of money you wanna spend, activate it on your phone without having to take out your SIM card, without having to line up at airports, without having to re-sign different documents. SAILY has you sorted, whether you need a little bit of data or a lot of data, whatever your plan is, SAILY has you covered wherever you go in the world. Go on right now, check out the app. It's the most seamless and easiest process when it comes to travel eSIMs that you can experience. Use the code word submission, 15% off. Jump on right now. What are you waiting for? Grab your SAILY today. If you're traveling tomorrow, next month, get it sorted today. Use the code word submission while it's still active. It's 15% off. SAILY.com/submission gets you sorted. Try it today, whether it's a lot of data, small amount of data. SAILY has you sorted. Easy, seamless, highly recommended. Now back to the program. Here's another question that's gonna get some more comments down below. Is he the greatest lightweight of all time yet?
Okay.
And what does he have to do to take Khabib's mantle in that regard?
Here are my thoughts on that discussion. That discussion gets really complicated because are you defining that by pure achievements or perception? Because if you were defining it by pure achievements...
Am I in court right now? Is this a deposition?
It is.
You're like, let's break down the terms here, just because this is going to not go well for me one way or the other.
There are well, okay, yeah, answer the question.
I think so what were the two options, sorry, that you gave me? Pure
Credentials.
Yeah.
And achievements, or perception.
I think pure credentials and achievements. Let's talk about that.
Then yes. I mean, I don't know that there's an argument to be made. I think championships are the most important measurement of greatness in a particular division, and he just eclipsed the greatest lightweight of all time in Khabib Nurmagomedov, and he did it against more difficult competition, let's be honest. If you look at the conversation another way, though, in terms of perception, I don't know that Islam can have control over when he's called the GOAT, because two things in particular. Khabib had the perfect foe at the perfect time to create the perfect storm. And that's not, Islam can't control his competition. The fact that there's not a Conor McGregor to create a superstar. The other piece of that is that Khabib was the first to create this mold that Islam is now filling and that Umar is filling, and all these other Russian wrestlers and Dagestani wrestlers that are coming behind, even if they're not specifically a part of that team, but especially the guys who are on that team. Khabib was the first, and there will never be another first to completely change the landscape of the sport. So the fact that he had the perfect foe, he was the first, that might be a lot to overcome on paper for the general perception to be that he is the GOAT. But on paper, yes.
Well, here's the thing, right? We've got Ilia Topuria. He was on socials again saying, hey, he's going to see Islam real soon. It's an interesting situation for Islam. I get it, because it's like he had to fight Alex Volkanovski a couple of times, a guy coming up. And of course, you're never going to get the flowers that you deserve if you beat a guy moving up, even if they're as great as Alex Volkanovski. He fought Alex Volkanovski when Alex Volkanovski was, you know, arguably one of the best to ever do it, right? Like, he was at the top of his game. But do you think that if an Ilia Topuria can come out, and let's say he does get this fight with the Charles Oliveira and goes out and stops Charles? I mean, Conor McGregor, he moved up from featherweight. He's one of the best featherweight champions of all time in himself. Do you think that's enough for Ilia to build up enough of a case for fans to be like, if Islam and Ilia fight and Islam destroys Ilia, that gets him the sort of acknowledgement that it could be got when he beat Conor McGregor the way that he did?
I think a much easier path for him to get that acknowledgement is going to be for him to go up. I think if he faces Ilia, if you ever stood next to those two guys comparatively, I don't remember exactly how tall Ilia is, but he is not a big featherweight. Clearly a very powerful featherweight. But I don't know. I'm curious about the optics of that fight, and if Islam goes out there, and if he were potentially to dominate Ilia, my guess is that the story going away from that would be like the size difference. I don't know.
Do you think we see Islam there go to 170?
I do.
Because you think so? Because Belal, obviously, he's not going to go while Belal's the champ.
But he left that door open several times this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Tell me your pickups. I must have missed it. What did he say?
Well, it was never a direct comment, but when and I'm forgetting the name of the influencer, but he was on, I'm showing my age right now. I don't know. I don't remember.
Come on. I have no idea who these people are either.
Yeah. He was asked the question. He said, listen, my dream is to be a 2-division champion. And of course they brought up Belal, and he said, we have the same manager. We would need to sit down and talk. It wasn't, no, I would never fight Belal. And on a couple of occasions, it was, Ali and we would have to sit down and talk. So how open that door is, I don't know, but I just felt like I felt a shift in him the last week. He's so dead set on that. But I also think Belal is looking at middleweight. So maybe it won't even be a problem by the time all the dominoes fall in this situation.
Yeah, Belal told me he was looking at middleweight by the end of this year. Let's say Belal and Islam fought tomorrow. Who do you think wins?
I think Islam. I think Islam would win, but I don't know. Belal looked absolutely phenomenal in his last win, but it's really difficult to watch a fight. I was going to say, like, tonight, obviously tonight was a little bit of a different situation, but any of Islam's fights, it's hard to watch that and not envision him beating everybody because he's the pound for pound.
Well, it's interesting, right, as well, because Belal's been in the training room with Islam. You're almost like not knowing what you're facing in Islam is a big thing when you step in there with him. So he kind of understands that. But then I guess Islam knows what Belal's weaknesses are. Very fascinating stuff. I just think it would be a shame because I know Javier Mendez told me 35 could be the magic number for Islam, which makes a couple of years till he retires. I just think it would be a shame not to see him at welterweight before then, especially because he's so big. Let's talk about lightweight, though, just real quick. Dana White just went on the press conference and said he doesn't think that Arman is going to be getting this next title shot after he pulled out with the back injury. So that means he'll have to fight again. If you're booking the division right now, I know we've got Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje coming up at UFC 313. We've got a couple of boys floating around. Let me bring up the UFC rankings here. Because Islam needs somebody to fight, right? We got to find someone to fight Islam. And I think it's really sad what happened to Arman. So I'd love to still see. And I actually want to see that fight.
I'm with you. I'm not surprised to hear that Dana said that. I have not watched any of the post-fight press conferences. I'm not surprised to hear Dana say that, but I personally would like to see the Arman fight. I felt like we got so invested in it and excited about it and dissected it, and it was a fascinating matchup. I would still like to see that. I would still like to see that.
Well, we've got Arman number 1, Charles number 2, Gaethje number 3, Dustin Poirier number 4, Holloway 5, Dan Hooker 6. And I know, and Chandler's coming off a loss, so I don't really think that's something.
No.
So who do you even give Arman at this point, do you think, if he's not fighting for does he have to fight like a Fiziev or something to? Does he fight?
Beneil? I don't. Listen.
Still fight Beneil? I think Beneil messaged me. He's going to be on the podcast tomorrow. I think they're moving him to another card.
Are they?
Yeah. By the way, poor Beneil, right? Out of the octagon, as long as he is, nicest guy in the world.
Hometown.
If that was me, I'd be like flipping my crap. Like, what the hell, man? Like, like this is actually probably one of the more pivotal fights in his career since he came back from that losing streak last time. Yeah, but yeah.
One of the nicest guys ever. I'm glad he got his win and show. They are definitely taking care of him. So I don't think he's too, mortified by it. But yeah, it's a really, especially in his backyard. He had to have a big crowd here.
Charles Oliveira can't be fighting Arman next. They just fought. So, and I don't know if this Oliveira Tapura thing is a legit thing. I don't think it is, but whatever. He seems unbooked. And Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje, could the winner of that potentially get a shot against Islam? I don't know. What do you think?
I suppose. Yeah. Listen, this is where I'm an absolute zero on this show. I'm such a fence rider.
Put a 1 in front of that 0, and that's what you are, my friend.
It's so late. You start asking me these matchup questions, and I'm just like,
I know. I lay you on these shows in the middle of the morning. You're like, I've got half an hour till I get to my hotel. I'm like, perfect. Don't worry.
I'm gonna start doing the Dana and be like, I don't make fights the night of the fight. All right, Dennis. Okay. I don't talk about matchups. We're gonna get in the warm room on Tuesday, and we'll see how it unfolds. Okay. We'll see how it goes.
I love it. Very good Dana impression. In a biopic, you would be great to play him. All right, so let me quickly, not because of the looks, but because of the fact that you're very good at not landing on a topic. So let me break this down real quick for you. Jamal Hill and Jiri. Man, what a crazy battle. Hill obviously got caught early, but he was able to come back, and it looked like he was on his way to winning that fight. And then in the 3rd round, he's literally just walking forward into Jiri's shots. And you're like, dude, you've got to be kidding me. What the hell are you doing? Like, what are you thinking right now? And of course he gets caught. Jiri wins.
Yeah.
If you're Jamal Hill right now, I mean, how are you feeling with the fact that you've just basically cost yourself a fight like this? Surely he knew in that moment that moving forward on a Jiri straight into his shots wasn't going to benefit him as he was on his way to potentially winning.
This was such a pivotal fight for both of these guys that it was going to be a tough night, whoever lost this fight, and a huge night for whoever won. I think I saw the fight maybe slightly differently than you did, in the sense that obviously Jamal got knocked down in round 1, and it felt like Jiri really snatched a lot of momentum then. For a lot of the fight, I felt like it was any moment now, one of these guys, and I don't know who it is going to land a shot and the other one's going to get put to sleep. I felt that way during the entire fight. It could have been Jiri, it could have been Jamal. It felt like a coin flip to me a lot of times, but you're right. I mean, Jiri's, it felt like he found his flow state a little bit easier, and Jamal never quite did. And Jiri was seeing things, and he put his guard up a little bit.
Come on.
A little bit.
I love Jiri, but come on. I love Jiri, and I wanted to, and technically Jamal Hill showed some more depth than Jiri in this fight, but you know, Luke Thomas was on the show this week. We were talking a little bit about the fact that for Jiri, it's not about moving down in weight. It's about embracing a defensive style as well as an offensive style, because you can't move. You can't be. It's actually insane how successful Jiri is with the fact that he is not defensive at all. He's probably one of the greatest offensive, non-defensive fighters of all time. But like, where is the ceiling for this version of Jiri, especially as he gets older to you? I know he wants to fight Alex Pereira again, but surely this version of Jiri, like, he would have to make some adjustments.
Yeah, I think there would need to be another level of defensive adjustments in order for him to get a more competitive outcome with Alex Pereira. Listen, I think he did a good job of finding his flow state and using his head movement. I don't know that I saw him using his guard a whole lot. I don't know that he can fight like that, though. I don't know that is, certainly it's within him to learn new skills, but when you have thousands of hours when your flow state is predicated on you having your hands down and moving in really erratic, offbeat sort of ways, I don't know if you all of a sudden become a really fundamental defensive kickboxer. But there would need to be further clicks on the knob in that direction in order for the fight against Alex to look vastly different than it did the last couple of times.
205 is interesting, right? You got Pereira taking off Ankalaev, the fight that we were waiting to see what that's going to be like. That's going to be a huge test for Pereira. If he could come out on the other side, that's going to be super impressive. If he doesn't, he moves to light heavyweight. Do you think this is the time for Robert Whittaker to throw himself in the mix at 205? We got Khalil Roundtree floating around. We got Jiri floating around. Obviously, you know, for Rob, he's had a couple of losses at middleweight. Is this a good time for him to test the water? I could see him fighting Jamal Hill, maybe even, or anyone.
Absolutely. I've not been around Rob outside of camp, but I've heard that he is quite a strapping lad. If you,
the photos that I sent you privately, Laurie, aren't supposed to be discussed in this program. But yes, apparently he is a strapping lad.
Yeah,
he's a big dude. He's a
big guy.
Huge. Yeah, absolutely massive.
Yeah, and so I mean, if that's the case, and I trust that it is, then, and listen, this is, I don't know if it was Luke that has said this, but you know, 205 is not quite the glamour division that it was back in the day. And if there ever was a time for Rob to come in and make a little bit of noise in a new division, I do think that now is the time. I do.
You think Pereira beats Ankalaev without breaking it down? Because it's early in the morning. You've just been battling back to the hotel room, but just on feel and heart. And I know you used to train with Cruz back in the day.
I did.
You got a bit of a feel for that team. Do you think he beats Ankalaev?
I am concerned because I'm having flashbacks of Jiri taking him down and having long stanzas, or at least a good chunk of a round on top. And this is going to be the worst analysis I've ever
This is great. This is great.
It's magic. I think Pereira, magical being that can get it done. Does it make sense on paper? No. But do I pick him to win today? I do.
I mean,
I think he can find him.
He's the guy. He's kind of created his own striking style at this point, right? He checks a kick by putting his leg around the back.
The Rabona check. Yes.
He's able to do things that other people can't. The way that he strikes isn't something that other people can do. I could totally see him catching Ankalaev on the way in. It's going to be a great fight, and props to him for it. All right, quick one. I'm going to cut it down to one fan question before we go, because I think this is the most pivotal one, because you're tired. What are we doing here? Are we coming to Sydney? UFC 312?
I'm not. No.
What?
I know.
I was going to make you a new pillow.
Oh, I was going to get a pillow out of it? A new pillow?
I got your pillow last time. I saw it in the trash on the way out of the
No,
hotel.
I kept it. It's in, I have a box that I keep all of my MMA mementos
all month for you.
My fighting days to my broadcasting days. It's in there. I'm not coming to Sydney. I am calling the Saudi Arabia card. So
cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. I don't know.
I'm happy for myself, but I'm happy for you.
Thank you. I don't know that they've had many female broadcasters calling major sports over there. So I'm kind of excited for that little.
Yeah, how's that feel? I remember at one point, I believe, it's great to see the advancement. I think at one point, women weren't even allowed in to watch sporting events, and then here you are breaking barriers and also commentating. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, I am excited about
for that country.
Say that again.
That's going to be huge for all the young people growing up, being able to see you do that in that region. Yeah,
I mean, it feels big-headed of me to agree with that, but I hope. I mean, I think that it's a really interesting opportunity. And if you remember on the last Saudi broadcast, Sheikh Turkey was talking about, we want you to bring women. There are going to be a couple of female fights on the card. It will be myself, and I believe Mackenzie Pavicic is doing the reporting, if I remember right. So, yeah, we're bringing.
It's going to be huge. An Izzy fight, an Izzy fight. I'm super excited. It's going to be one of the big fights of the year.
It will be. It's
fights at the start of the year for sure.
Yes, it's a big fight night. It's a fight night that kind of feels like a pay-per-view. To be honest with you, it's a big card.
Anyway, she's abandoned us, guys. Sorry, no more fan questions, guys. There she is. Laura Sanko, one of the greatest in the industry. Thank you so much for joining me. A great job tonight. I can't wait to see you break some barriers over there.
Appreciate it.
And of course, what a crazy night of fights. You need to get some rest now. Thank you so much.
Dennis.
Thanks for this birthday present. It was
happy birthday again. Yes.